do you have concern about Diggs in Buffalo, obviously as the former receiver?
No, I don't have major concerns with him in Buffalo. They'll figure it out. I mean, the frustration, for me, it's not about the money, because clearly he's one of the top 2-3 paid receivers in the game, Molly. It's more about how he's being used. It's not that he's not getting his touches. He had 100-plus catches last year, 1,400-plus yards, 11 touchdowns. In 3 years with Josh Allen, he certainly has lit it up. I think he has over 330 receptions over those 3 years. So it's not the touches, it's how you being used, when you being used. You know, you go back to last year's playoff game against Cincinnati, and he's looking at Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and he's looking at T. Higgins and Boyd and how they utilize them in certain situations to close out games and putting the football in their hands. He walks away from that in January saying, okay, it's going to be different. You come back, even though he wasn't at OTAs, he's still able to communicate and understand what Ken Dorsey is trying to do on the offensive side of the ball. And when you are not feeling like the coaches are understanding what you want, it can be very, very frustrating. Mm-hmm. He went, based on reports, to sit down with Brandon Beane along with the head coach and Sean McDermott and had a conversation with them. The individual that was absent was the offensive coordinator. Okay? So when you look at that, Josh Allen misses him late in games on situations. He doesn't get him the football late in games and situations. So that's that relationship, lack of communication that we're seeing right now coming out of Buffalo. So what Josh Allen likes to do in his press conference yesterday is extend an olive branch. Let us know he's my guy. But he's talking to Stefon Diggs, not just us in the public. He wants him to know these sort of things. I know because I speak receiver. And I've been in these situations with quarterbacks before. So I understand what's going on in Buffalo when it comes to Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen, and Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator.
Woody?
Key, I think, listen, I think there's plenty of time to kind of rectify the situation? Absolutely. But I think the question for me is, why now? Why now? Here we are, June 14th, okay? Offseason program started in April. All right, since the time between the last time, that picture right there, between that picture right there and where we are right now, why wasn't this resolved, in that period of time? Because every championship team that I've been on, we understood that each year, each team is different. So why are you carrying baggage from last year into this year in this offseason when you've had plenty of time to address whether it be Josh Allen, Ken Dorsey, Sean McDermott? You've had time to address these issues. Why do you wait until minicamp in order to express this displeasure or whatever the case may be? And only Stefon Diggs can tell us exactly what the deal is. But why do you wait until minicamp when everyone's about to go on vacation to, act out this way? That would be my question in this whole situation.
All right. So first of all, Keyshawn, for a guy that doesn't seem overly concerned, you rattled off like 97 things that were
the reason I'm not concerned. No, the reason I'm not concerned, Dan, is because Stefon Diggs is going to play football for Buffalo Bills this year.
Yeah.
There's no he's going to be there. It's $25 million. He's not losing that. He likes to play football. He's just sending a message to them.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Damon, real quick, you say why now? Because this is the first time he's been in the building. This is the first time that he's had an opportunity to see the playbook again. And when you look at that thing, come on, man, I'm not dealing with this. I know what happened, man. You can't tell me something different.
Dan, real quick, before you jump in, I'm just curious. I was just going to say, Keyshawn, I know you speak receiver, but Dan, do you speak quarterback? Because I need you to translate what's happening on Josh's side here for me.
Josh did a great job yesterday in those press conferences of ownership and accountability and making sure that he took a great deal of the blame for the situation. I'm in the camp of Keyshawn. I'm not saying this isn't something. This is certainly something. I'm not overly concerned. I absolutely agree that he will play for the Buffalo Bills this year. I think the reason why I'm not concerned is this is fixable. It's also justified. He had 4 catches in that Cincinnati Bengals loss. And go back to thinking about, and Key, I agree with your point in this with the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. I go back to the Kansas City game last year when it was 4th and 6 and Joe Burrow threw into double coverage versus Jamar Chase. And he was like, I'm just throwing it to him. And it will either win because he catches it or lose. I go back to the playoff game or the Super Bowl with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. When he throws the touchdown to A.J. Brown, and Jalen, you sit there and go, probably shouldn't throw that ball, but he did for a touchdown. I'll go to Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl last year with the catch that Kelce has, scraping it off the ground. Why would you throw that? So I think, Stefon has the right to sit here and go, I'm that guy. Like, I'm that guy that you should find ways to force the football to me in those pivotal moments like other guys do to their wide receivers, and it's that kind of fine line. And Keyshawn and Wood, you guys know that of like, it's a very fine line of going, we're just going to throw the ball to Steph here no matter what, versus we're trying to throw the ball to Steph too much type of thing, right? And I think he's just making it clear. And this was Ken Dorsey's first year last year, in those moments. So I agree with Key that I think it's fixable. I think his feelings are justified if it's about football. And Wood, when would you want him to do it? You want him to do it in April? Great. It's 2 months later. Like, it ain't that big a deal, dude.
But it is that. I mean, for me, it's like you wait until whatever it was, January, when everything unfolded until now. So Keith talking about, I've reported it all to the mini camp. I look at the playbook, nothing's changed. Well, bruh, you had all season to bring up these questions.
Maybe he wanted to decompress.
Why are you
Maybe
doing
he
that
wanted to get away. Maybe he wanted to let the
that.
motion settle a little bit instead of just coming back in February and making a big deal about it in February. Maybe he wanted to let some time pass.
Who will be the most improved quarterback this season?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit off the obvious path and say Desmond Ridder for the Atlanta Falcons. A couple of reasons why. Number one, I think this is a really talented skill position group in Atlanta. Drake London's got to play and be an impactful force downfield. Their second-round wide receiver out of USC. Keyshawn knows nothing about that, or second year, excuse me. Number two, Kyle Pitts, the superstar tight end that is touted as one of the highest-rated prospects ever at that position. He's got to stay healthy. Desmond Ridder started 4 games last year. None of them were with Kyle Pitts. The addition of Bijan Robinson out of Texas, the tailback. I think what Atlanta's trying to do is kind of make Philadelphia south, essentially, and they're going to run a ton of zone reads. Desmond Ridder is a very athletic player. He's very good at understanding what's happening pre-snap. They've got a lot. They've got very high-end talent around him that's a little bit of an unknown and or unproven. But I think that if Arthur Smith, their head coach, calls the run game that he's capable of, and they stay healthy with some of their big players on the outside, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, I really think Desmond Ridder could have a little bit of a breakout season and kind of become the question of, man, maybe they already have their future at quarterback in Atlanta.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Dan. I think Desmond Ridder has an opportunity in the future, gets an opportunity just like the guy I'm talking about in Justin Fields. Justin Fields is now entering in his second season in this particular offense. When you think about where they're at with Luke Gesky, he came in last year, it was totally new to him. What did they do? They went out and got him a toy in DJ Moore. Prior to that, they went out and got Chase Claypool. Darnell Mooney was already there. So now they get to all gel together. The defensive side of the ball helps the offensive side of the ball. They went out and signed Edmonds, the linebacker, in free agency. Jalen Johnson, one of the shutdown corners in my eyes in the National Football League, very long, can dominate receivers on the perimeter. It helps the team overall. So therefore, you don't have to rely on a young quarterback to carry you. You can develop him the right way. When you think about the quarterback position, Dan and Woody, what is it that teams do? We talked about Josh Allen earlier. They went out and they got Stefon Diggs. Or we look at Jalen Hurts. They went out and got A.J. Brown. So the development of a young quarterback starts with, guess what? A receiver. So what did they do? They said, we need a playmaker. They went and got DJ Moore. So I think when you look at where they're at and what they want to do, take time to develop this young quarterback, he'll be fine this year. Passing-wise, running, we know what he can do with his legs. But I'm talking about delivering the football in sync, in rhythm, hit the back feet, let it rip, understanding the coverages, pre-snap read, all of those things, you'll see a major improvement.
I've said I think he's going to play MVP level football, Justin. I don't think he'll win it because they won't be good enough. But I honestly believe that he will put up MVP type of numbers, conversation-wise.
It's a bold take right there. D. Wood, where are you on this?
Yeah, so, both Dano and Key went with young guys. I'm going with a veteran. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson. Listen, anyone who watched Russell Wilson last year, quite honestly, he stunk. Like, he was awful last year. Barely completed 6% of his passes. QBR, 27th in the league. I thought he was out of shape, to be honest with you. He looked slow, unathletic. And I think with Sean Payton to me is going to be the key to this whole thing, because I think what Sean Payton is going to bring is culture and structure. And I think that's what Russell Wilson really needs at this stage in his career. As far as his play is concerned, he's going to bring a type of structure around Russell Wilson as far as what he wants him to do offensively that's going to get him back on track. I mean, Russell Wilson, for most of his career has been a guy that's been like at minimum in the mid-60s completion percentage and just fell off a cliff last year for a variety of reasons. And I just think that Sean Payton is going to be the guy to get him back on track. And I think that, listen, Denver is not devoid of talent around them. They have talent at skill position players. And we know Javonte Williams is coming back. So for me, I think this is going to be a bounce back year for Russell Wilson.
You took the easy one. Of course he's going to be improved. He can't play worse than he did last year. What?
Yeah, no, but Dan, can I just get in here real quick, and then you guys get in on that? Because, D-Wood, I think the Russell Wilson one is just so interesting, and obviously Denver paid a grit for him. But when you look at that division and the other quarterbacks, do you feel like he can overcome a Patrick Mahomes and that squad and actually win a Super Bowl there?
You asking me that, Miles?
Yeah.
No, he can't. And Justin Herbert in L.A.
Yeah.
Those are the two teams that have to be kind of gone through when it comes to that division. Go back. L.A. was decimated by injuries last year. The fact that they even made the playoffs was a great accomplishment for them. They were up 27-0 in the playoffs. Now, they blew it, and credit Jacksonville for winning it, but no, they're not good enough. Their defense is still going to be very good, and we'll see what it's like under their new defensive coordinator. But Russell Wilson's going to play better football. I don't know if Russell Wilson gets back to like top 3, top 4 quarterback football, but I think he'll be much improved because, again, the bar in comparison to last year is so low. But no, they cannot go chase down Kansas City and or the Chargers yet.
I don't know about that one, Dan. I don't know about that one.
Know about what?
Wait a minute, hold on, Dan. Here's what I would say. Okay, the king is still Patrick Mahomes. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to still reign supreme in the AFC West. I don't think there's no question about that. As far as your point about the Los Angeles Chargers, you talked about injuries last year. They've been injured every year for the past 3 or 4 years. Every year we talk about the Los Angeles Chargers, we talk about key injuries throughout the year, every single year. Yeah. And so as much as we talk about how talented that roster is, and it's a talented roster, until they can prove they can get over the injury bug, I'm not going to invest my capital into the Los Angeles Chargers, okay? It's still Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and everybody else.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.